Welcome to Autofaze. On this video, the Outlaw will rise again. So if you tuned into one of our past episodes, you know that we picked up a retired Outlaw go-kart in preparation of a go-kart race that we've been invited to on September 30th by Wilson Garage. Now, I've always wanted to own a go-kart, and practically, I don't know much about small engines, so this should be quite a treat. And it's going to be really cool to kind of bring this thing back to life because, well, honestly, it's been really neglected, but it also has some really good parts on it. So we're going to dive through, kind of see what all this thing needs, possibly get it running, possibly maybe take it on a couple rips. We'll just see how long the video goes. But it's going to be awesome to kind of revive this old Outlaw kart and kind of see what we can do with it and see if we can be competitive on the yard/acre. Basically what he did is he cut a course into his, I think it's 8 or 10 acres, basically cut like a 3/4 mile course in it, and we got invited to participate. So I think it's going to be pretty rad. Let's dive in and see what all work this thing is going to need. A leak somewhere, right there. Patch of sidewall. But in efforts to keep this thing actually aired up, see what it's looking like when all four aired up, I'm going to throw a patch in it. Now, I'm not going to clean this up too much because I want this to remind me that, hey, this tire is bad. But let's go ahead and get the air on the other sides up. I think this thing is just a little too low. 2 inches on the front. 2 inches in the middle. 2 inches in the rear. It is really humid in the garage today. It's like 70, 80 degrees in here. But I want good audio, so we're not gonna turn the fan on. I'm gonna suffer it out for you guys in old Outlaw here. What I'm thinking is we do like a 6-inch wheel, maybe 6.5, 6 inches wide, and then do like a 15 by 6.5 inch tire. That should gain us at least a couple more inches. So then our overall frame clearance, our ground clearance would be like 4 inches. I think that would really help us. I've only seen a few people online do that to a race kart before, but I think it's gonna work out. Obviously this is set up for dirt, you know, so we'll keep these wheels. Who knows, maybe we'll try the whole dirt track thing. There is one that's closed. Maybe we should maybe give it a shot. MCP brakes on it, and they're actually really good. I think someone recently, or maybe the last couple years before it got parked, someone serviced the brake system, and these things are dynamite. The master cylinder down on the left, the cool thing I liked about this kart is you can adjust the pedals. So we could like take turns riding this. You know, I have long legs, so we could swap the pedals. I would fit perfect. Of course, gotta address the seat. The thing about Outlaws, it came with this nice Kirky seat. Unfortunately, if you watch the video, there's no way I'm fitting in this thing. The wife actually fits like a glove. But that's pretty cool. These old Outlaws come with a lot of these performance seats to keep the driver safe. And of course it has some nice safety harnesses in it. When we went to get this thing up in Iowa, it was extremely hard to start. It took those guys like 30 minutes. So I'm going to kind of go around the fuel system. I really want to put the fuel tank back in the middle, but let's see if we can see anything that'll maybe tell us why it was so rough to start. These race karts, the fuel tanks are always right behind kind of the steering column. This one they moved. It's sitting right here, which obviously kind of a hazard, you know, if someone hits you and whatnot. That's why they like to run them right there. I'm wondering how old this fuel is, so I'm gonna do a smell test. Ugh. You guys want to smell it first? Honestly, it's really not too bad. Let's see if we can find anything else. This pinch on the fuel line there, that could definitely cause some issues there as far as fuel delivery. That's been sitting there like that for a while. You can see the indentation there. Man, I think that's definitely pinching. Kind of where they had it. It's definitely pinching the fuel line for startups. You can already see the fuel starting to run down the line here. Kind of just rigged it up, that way that fuel line's unpinched. and I really want to see if we can get this thing started. You can see there not, but the carburetor does say SP, which kind of tells me this is either, you know, a 196, maybe a 212, somewhere in that range. Now the guy we bought it from said it was a 212cc, but honestly he didn't really know much about the engine. It did run really well once it did start. Now I'm definitely down to do sketchy stuff, but if this thing comes off the jack and it goes into the wall, oh man, I'd probably never hear the end of that one. So to prevent that, I'm gonna throw this thing on some jack stands, and then we'll see if we can get to making some noises. One of the things they said was wrong with this is that the chain slips off. This thing is, in my opinion, a little bit too loose. So we'll definitely address that before we go ripping this thing around the neighborhood. These are the exact same noises it kind of made before we bought it, and I think we could possibly just clean those bearings instead of replacing them. We got some adjustability in our steering wheel. I noticed when we loading it and unloading it, moving it around. The steering wheel is loose. Of course it does have, which that's a simple fix, so we can just pop this off, hopefully tighten that up. Of course I'm not a fan of the red, so if we can't get this nice and tight, might just put a different steering wheel on. But definitely, if we can get this nice and tight, we're definitely gonna paint this. After we got it, I got home and instantly started doing some research, not knowing really anything about these. And we're missing the front hardware to attach the wing, so I started searching and searching. Well, I ran across a company called Tygo Racing. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, but they make a conversion Outlaw kit to put on a normal race cart. And once I started looking at this thing, I'm thinking, man, maybe that's what it is, because there are some Tygo brackets on it. But then I hit up Tygo and said, hey, I need the attachments if you guys still make this, because this is an older cart, if you guys still make this to attach the wing. And they said, that's not our conversion cart. And then I was all flustered, right? So then I got on Marketplace and I started searching for used Outlaw go-karts, and that's when I ran across the guy, and he had pictures of the wing on and off. It looks just like the top of this one. Shot him a message and he said, no, what you need is a QRC Outlaw cart, and I think it's called like a top post or something weird. But anyway, I ended up getting some. Boom! So it looks like someone used Tygo mounts with a QRC cage top and wing. Not a problem. We definitely want to breathe some life into this thing. As you can tell, there's tons of stickers on it, and this thing, you know, it was confirmed that it ran a lot of dirt races up in Iowa. Do I know how old it is? Absolutely not. But something that's been sitting for a long time, and it's kind of questionable. I think it's going to be cool to revive it and restore it and bring it back. You know, we're going to have to work on the front mounts anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and take the wing off. It's actually heavier than you would expect. I'm a huge fan of the purple. I am thinking that on the whole frame and the floor, we go, I'll surprise you with that later. It has a Pulse fuel pump on it. Leak right here, and it's just sucking in air. It's getting ready to start this, but man, we have a major fuel leak, a major one. Holy cow. All right, so parts are stupid cheap for these go-karts. I might just go ahead and order a stage 2, you know, to have just in case. It's got a nice little catch can on it though. Some homework on some of the logos that are on this engine, and I do not believe it's a 212cc because on the starter pole there's a logo called Alvitech. I researched that company. They make Honda 196C clone engines. 6.5 horsepower, 9.76 or so torque. Could this be built and make more than that? Absolutely, but if it's not, we're gonna have a hard time keeping up with those guys on race day. Now, I was kind of poking around on the flywheel / blower housing. There's another stamped logo, actually stamped into that, M-O-R-E-E. I Googled that, that led me down a rabbit hole of more race engines based out of South Carolina. They also make a 196C clone engine. So could this possibly be built? Yeah. Should we take it apart and measure the cam lobes and get scientific with it? Yeah, we could. But honestly, this is a stock appearing engine from the outside minus the stickers. So I say we just order a stage 1 carburetor, get some jets. Let's go ahead and pull this spark plug, kind of see what it is and see what it looks like. All right, this is a Torch F7 TC spark plug. And whoa, She was running rich. Check that out. She was running rich. As you know, when we picked this thing up, they doused a ton of fuel in it to get it started. You know what I'm curious about? Let's turn our fuel off. Let's see if this thing has compression. Oh yeah, she's got compression. Okay, that's a good thing. It's got compression. So that tells me, you know, that kind of this excess fuel didn't hurt the compression of the engine, so that's a good sign. Porsche F7TC spark plug, guys run those in a lot of the 196cc engine class. Another hint, this is probably 196cc, wow, 196cc Honda engine clone. You know what? I'm curious if this thing has aftermarket valve springs in it. Let's pull the valve cover and take a peek. If these are aftermarket valve springs, they should have some sort of color on them. The 18-pounders are green. I'm not seeing any green on any of them. I'm not going to disassemble the rockers right now. I mean, because obviously these could be aftermarket and I just don't know. So, kind of one of those things you get when you buy kind of a used go-kart that someone doesn't know the history on. I'm going to go ahead and pull off the flywheel / blower housing. You know, if this was a modified engine, this might have a different flywheel on it. So we'll see. Oh, all right, well, as you can see there, that is definitely not any sort of aftermarket flywheel. Exhaustless on it does not come anywhere close to mounting on the frame. Kind of disappointing. This is definitely probably not a built engine. Factory flywheel, all looking cruddy. They probably just did a stage 1 carburetor and threw this exhaust on there and went out and had some fun, which is completely fine. This thing, of course, is a sight for sore eyes, but hey, it works. You know, not too shabby, you know, for someone who wants to have fun, you know, for on the cheap. All right, so we got a solid base here. Unfortunately, I think this engine is stock with just a carburetor, a filter, and exhaust. That is not going to help us be competitive, I feel like, on the September 30th race. We have 2 months, $1,000 build budget. As of right now, we're roughly $712 into this cart and the top post to mount the wing, which need to be modified. Video is getting kind of long, so I'm not going to do that today. Maybe we'll do that in part 2. So we still need to kind of address the fuel system. I'm not a big fan of the tank. It pitches the line. We can rig it, you know, kind of behind the steering wheel, but I don't feel like it's going to be efficient. So I say new fuel lines, tank, carburetor, let's spark plug, let's four kind of main components there. You need you need spark and fuel. Obviously, spark, fuel, and air to run an engine. So I say we address all that. Obviously, that filter is bad. We might as well get a new filter and see if we can get this thing running and driving. So part 2, let's do that. Get it running and driving and going. See really how quick this thing is truly going to be. And it's going to be sweet. I'm excited. I'm stoked. Ground clearance is questionable, though, so I hope we have enough room in the budget to throw this on some 15s, which we might have to address the sprocket because we'll be changing the gearing with a higher tire. But all that we'll you know, address as it comes down the road. This is going to be a pretty extensive, really, episode building up to the race day. And I think this is going to be really cool. It's going to be really fun. And something I noticed is this thing is preloaded. This cage is preloaded to the left, you know, because on circle tracks you're going to the left. That's if you push it down and try to make the cage even, it springs back kind of to the left. So that's pretty cool. Retired Outlaw Kart, it's gonna rise again. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.